in one way or the other. We end up pushing the actual work till the 11th hour.
Well, the word procrastination was derived from the Latin words pro, which means forward, and crastinus, which means the next day or tomorrow.
We welcome all viewers to our podcast In the Talks presented by Iiit Bhagalpur. Today, your hosts are Baroor, Avneshwari and Subarnajit Saha. So viewers, ever wondered why you don't feel like completing a set of assignment or studying for an approaching test? Well, we all have been in that situation in one way or the other. We end up pushing the actual work till the 11th hour. Our topic today is exactly this. Yes, viewers, today's topic is procrastination. We will be talking about what or how it forms in us and some tips to cope with it. Once again, we thank you for tuning in to our channel and we hope to see you till the end. Baroor, care to tell something about procrastination?
Well, the word procrastination was derived from the Latin words pro, which means forward, and crastinus, which means the next day or tomorrow. It is basically the action of delaying our work till the next day. Oh, and we all know that this next day never comes because every day has a next day. The Roman philosopher Lucius Annaeus Seneca said that while we waste our time hesitating and postponing, life is slipping away. But honestly, we all know that it is all easier said than done. Because even the greatest of minds struggle to
Really?
overcome
I mean, I
procrastination.
always thought that I had this problem, and people who are really smart can overcome this easily as they have a better control over their mind.
No, that is not so true, Subarnajit. Believe it or not, the internet did not give rise to procrastination. People have struggled with habitual hesitation going back to ancient civilizations. The great poet Hesiod, writing around 800 BC, cautioned not to put your work off till tomorrow and the day after. The Roman consul Cicero called procrastination
But
hateful
that
in the
still
conduct
does
of
not answer
efforts.
whether it's just laziness, and I just need to overcome these feelings in my head.
Okay, have a little patience. First of all, tell me, uh, for the years, procrastination was indeed related to laziness. But in recent years, a peculiar behavior of procrastination has received a burst of empirical interest. With apologies to Hesiod, psychological researchers now recognize that there is far more to it than simply putting something off till tomorrow. True procrastination is a complicated failure of self regulation. Experts define it as the voluntary delay of some important task that we intend to do, despite knowing that we will suffer as a result. A poor concept of time may exacerbate the problem, but an inability to manage emotions seems to be its
And what
very
you're saying
foundation.
is that if I just get better at managing my time, then there will be positive results. I have tried this so many times. I just cannot get my head around this. It is like
Yeah,
I just cannot try. I
yeah.
mean, it has been so long since I've just wondered whether I can just manage my time around because whenever I start, there is some deadline. I always think like, yes, I can do it tomorrow. I can do it tomorrow. But like this concept of time and this is still like, I mean, even I know what it is. Even it is still there's a feeling inside me which tells me like, no, let's leave it. Let's leave it. I mean, I have. It's like in the end, I still end up procrastination in one way or the other. So once I yeah, so
Yeah,
once I
yeah,
start,
yeah,
once I
yeah.
started to fly paper planes out of the assignment sheets due to the next day, because I did not feel like working at all. I was just like, I had these sheets in my hand, and what was doing this? I was like, nah, who's gonna work on this? And I just folded it up and I started flying the paper planes. It was just like that. I mean, I did not complete it, but I had to pull an all-nighter for that. Not like I had so many regrets later, only if I had completed it earlier, man.
Yeah, and coming to that part next. APS fellow Joseph Ferrari is a professor of psychology at DePaul University. He is a pioneer of modern research on the subject, and his work has found that as many as 20% of people may be chronic procrastinators. He said, it really has nothing to do with time management. As I tell people to tell the chronic procrastinator to just do, it would be like saying to a clinically depressed person,
So
cheer up.
basically, you're telling it is more complicated than just realizing the problem and trying to have a command over your mind.
All right, let's go over it like this. First of all, you tell me some of your stories about your own experiences with procrastination first. Let me know what you think and know about procrastination because we need to get into the mind of a procrastinator before we can pin out the root
I
cause
mean,
and
okay,
some
I guess it's a
remedies.
good idea. So what I've always done is that I have pushed deadlines far till the end until I am in some sort of panic to complete it at the last minute. Uh, okay, think of it as a scenario that my mind has a ship. Okay, so this
Yeah.
ship needs to be steered, and my sometimes what happened is there's a commander who wants to steer the ship, and what happens is there's a very bored monkey who is very naughty, by the way, and what he does, he needs to be entertained all the time, and he does not let the commander steer the ship at all, and he is always at the helm of the ship. And whenever I like he wants to keep getting in sort of entertainment in some short time, like this short term entertainment is the main factor of his work. So some yeah
Yes,
so
yes,
like
yes. Uh, it happens with most. It happens with
yeah,
all
so
of us
like
mostly.
sometimes I end up watching some TV series or just go on scrolling through some Instagram posts without an end. Like I just go on and on. I mean, I don't know. Like I know that it is harming me in the back of my mind, but like the sensible part of my mind, which is the commander, is shouting to the monkey, but the monkey just wants to play, and it doesn't let him steer the ship at all. Once I end up pushing the projects or any sort of work till the end, what happens is only a few days is left, obviously. So I end up once what happened is like I ended up like and I told you I ended up putting an all nighter to write about 40 pages of that. Like there was a project I had to do, so like I in the end like I pushed it so far back that like these 40 pages I had to write, and I like in the last night I had to put it. So you can imagine the kind of pressure I had, and the end result was not good. The end result was horrific. So that is the thing. So I was not even satisfied with my work, but I ended up doing it anyway. And this happens not only once. It's not like this happens once and you get over it. So what happens in the back of my mind, what I can tell you is happening is, so
Yeah.
this monkey just wants to play this steering the ship, but the one thing this monkey is very scared of is the panic monster. What is the panic monster? The panic monster occurs like he
Yes.
like emerges himself whenever the deadline approaches to very close. So whenever it is approached very close and it is just about to arrive, this panic monster appears, and this panic monster just drives the monkey away. And now the commander has the the steering, like he can steer the ship. So what
Yeah.
ends up happening is that now this commander can like steer the ship. So like he knows that he has to complete the job like by hook or by crook. So he just does his best and is like for the sake of completing the project or any sort of work. Because of that it just gets completed, but uh, in the end result is that we are not satisfied with it, right? So that is my problem, that this is what happens in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what almost all the times happens with us. That is really a vivid analogy of the situation. That is exactly what happens in many of our minds when we are procrastinating. This monkey in our minds keeps us from being productive, and always we end up losing our valuable time. And in today's world, time is money. So basically, there are two kinds of procrastinators. The experience you shared was when there is a deadline, and the other comes in when there is no deadline. The second one comes into play when you have to do something where you're not obliged to do, but you have to do it at the same time. Take for suppose example, seeing your family, exercising, or just taking time for your own mental health or physical health. See, in each of these cases, we definitely should work on. But always, what ends up happening is that we end up pushing the deeds forever,
Yeah,
forever,
sure.
and ever. Because that panic monster never showed up in the first place. Yeah. The monkey is stealing the sheep, and there
Yeah,
is
now
no
that you
end to this
mention it,
second type
I
of
mean, I just
procrastination,
like this
as
is
we
like a
said.
realization of my own because, like, whenever you talk about procrastination, most of us only realize it when it comes to a deadline and we can observe it. And this is actually happening in the back. Like, this is an ongoing thing, which very
Yeah.
like very small people number of people actually realize now actually like my eyes have opened up. So this has happened to me countless times. I cannot count the number
Yes,
of times
yes.
I wanted to
Hmm.
spend some time with my family, but I ended up doing something that was totally not necessary. Like I was just cooped up in my room watching some mediocre movies or playing video games. uh, I mean, I regret that. I mean, in the end, you know what happens, right? You just feel so much remorse and so much regret that you had that opportunity to spend that time. So this is actually much less talked about. If you like, when I now realize it, because very less number of people actually talk about this sort of procrastination, and I think this causes more regrets. As I said, as like obviously this will cause more regrets because you cannot at the back of your mind you should have done it. When it comes to any sort of deadlines, you actually end up doing it in the end because the panic monster appears, obviously, and that you end up doing it. Like even if it is not satisfactory, you actually do
Yes.
end up doing it. Like even if it does not please the teacher or whoever is doing like overseeing your work, but you end up doing it at least. But in this case, you end up pushing your dates further and further until and unless you are left with nothing. Like you lose that opportunity. Sometimes, like as it comes to family, right? We all know that we lose some family members along the way, and we never get to say goodbyes because of that. And that is, I mean, this is becoming very depressed. So, I mean, obviously, we know what I'm talking about. So, this causes a lot more remorse and a lot more regrets, and
Yes.
this takes a toll on your mental health. Just I mean, what can I say? I'm sure our viewers have also gone through similar things. Just know that you are not alone in this. We are in this together. We all have gone through times when we have just felt like some sort of spectators in our lives. We are not
Yes.
controlling our lives at all. The sneaky monkey is the most deadly when there is no deadline. So, and it goes on searching for instant gratification. And this instant gratification is what? Just like whatever it comes to play. Like for example, watching, as I said, watching mediocre TVs or like playing video games or scrolling through social media. These are the sort of instant gratification it looks for. And we are ignoring our rest of our lives. And we all have been in that situation in one way or the other. I'm just telling you, there are no non-procrastination. I mean, that's what I think, Like, I think that yeah, we all,
Yes. Yes,
yeah, I mean, I
absolutely.
think that
Yeah.
we all procrastinate to some
Absolutely.
degree or
I
the
also
other.
think the same.
Maybe some of us are not as affected by it, but we all have that monkey trying to steal the wheel and steer the ship altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I also think the same too. And coming to the next part, the statistics. The statistics may show that only a handful of people have reported to have been procrastinating to meet deadlines. But it is a completely different story when it comes to one without one. Procrastination is not shameful, it is not unpredictable. Think of why it arises in you. Let me give you a very clear picture on it. Imagine that you have to complete some work. Obviously, you would want to have that work completed in on time,
Yeah, of course.
but you
I
also
mean,
want to make it the
we all
best.
have that
Am
in
I right?
ourselves that we want the best
Obviously,
work,
you
that
want to
we have
make,
to outdo
yeah,
the other person like we have before. So we have that self-worth thing. I mean, I guess that is correct.
yeah, yeah. You want to make it such that it one of the best works your instructor has ever seen. Now, here is your self-worth talking to you, telling you that it should be perfect. Now, on the other hand, we can also look at this scenario in different angle. Like you want to make it the best work that you have ever produced. Therefore, you do not want to work on it because you fear you will not do such a good job as you think of it in your head. Generally, what happens is humans think of work as ability equals to performance equals to final result. But I think there is a lot more to it than that. There is also a part of us which pushes us, tells us that you must complete this work regardless. So, this causes a conflict in our brain. Two feelings, one associated to failure and underperformance, and one associated to getting the job done successfully clash. Generally, this is when procrastination occurs. Some experts say that procrastination in our mind coping up with these coping feelings and has it go in a complete stop where it will not go any further until the issue is
Now that
resolved.
I think about it, I actually get a very clear picture. I do realize how little time we have left in our lives, and we end up wasting quite a fraction of it simply procrastinating. I would rather spend it sleeping, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would also like to prefer instead wasting our time in unnecessary things. Sleep helps in reducing our stress and it also works like mood booster, right? So,
I mean, it just helps us
yeah.
reset and think about things in a different way. But more, I'm like, obviously, sleep is good. But like, the main thing is that you told me that, like, these conflicting thoughts of like why it happens. So we are having the self-worth, one telling us that we need to do the best of the work, and one is telling us that what we do might cause in a failure. These two conflicts that are occurring, and I mean, frankly, this puts our brain to a complete stop, and it just,
Ye-
I mean, what I told you was an
Yeah.
analogy, and the monkey comes and steers the animal. But actually, but like technically, when we are thinking about this, I think this is a very good theory of why it happens. I mean, obviously, it was said by some experts, so I completely agree with that. I mean, most of what we can make out of this that is that like we have to come to terms with our feelings, we have to sort things out. By sorting things out, I mean we have to resolve this issue, we have to resolve this conflict, otherwise we won't be progressing any further. So like you said that telling a procrastinator to just do it or just get it done is equivalent to telling a clinically depressed patient to just be happy, just don't be sad. I mean, that is like, and I completely agree with you, because that is not the way to do it. You cannot just tell a clinically depressed patient to just be happy because he is clinically depressed. That's the point of it. And when you are procrastinating, obviously you cannot tell them to just do it. That is not done. I mean, if they didn't know that already, that they had to do it, they already know that, and that's the problem that's coming in. It's their mind. It's their mind that's holding them back. And the thing why it happens, obviously, we can say a lot of things. We can say a lot of things about why we should do and how we should do it. But the end is that we are just mere humans and we also need to understand a lot of things. But when you are talking about procrastinating in the context, we always have to understand this. Like it is not a thing that we can overcome just by saying that we can do it, but the thing is that we need to come in terms with our feelings. I mean, I have just realized that like when we think about it, like we actually need to think about our feelings. Like we cannot, like this monkey, when it comes in our mind, we need to put a stop to it. We need to tell him that no, you cannot do it anymore. You cannot steer the wheel and drive the, like, push the deadline to an end, or
Yeah.
not just the deadline, when there is no deadline. We have to come in terms with our feelings, that when we want to see our family, we need to make a resolution that we want to do it right now, we want to see our family. Because whenever there is a work coming up, we always want to think that okay, we want to do it, but we will not be able to give our best. And when it comes to our family, obviously it is not the same scenario when it comes to a deadline. But there are thoughts, there are feelings that comes up in our mind. We have to solve that feeling, and this eternity, this feeling that is going on into eternity. And basically
Yeah.
it is that, isn't it? Like, uh, you just have to overcome your feelings. I mean, in the
Yes.
end, you just need to realize that, and you need to make the
Yeah.
commander steer the wheel
You know
again.
what? I thought I was the one who is telling about the procrastination. But I guess you did realize something, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I just real. I mean, it's more of like something I thought about, because I you only realize something when you actually think about things, right? So you need to give a thought about yourself. You need to give time to
Yeah, yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
That is the main point I'm making. You need to look in the mirror and say that, know your self-worth, know what you can do, and know that this monkey is not worth
Yeah,
your
yeah,
time.
yeah, you are
Right? That's
absolutely
what I
correct.
want to say.
By the way, the only way to get in terms with the monkey is to delve deep into your own minds. How you do that is completely different, dependent on the individual. You know, like some people have a pep talk with themselves in the mirror, like example me, and some people watch inspirational videos. But the thing about videos is that unless we realize we want to do it ourselves, we will never believe it in the words of the another, right? So so here everyone,
Exactly.
finally what I would like to say you is the one to save you from the hands of that monkey is none other than you yourself. So find yourself, look into your
Exactly.
mind, and tell that monkey to go climb up a tree or something, because we cannot have him at the helm of the ship. This way, somehow, the panic monster stays away too.
I mean, obviously, if the monkey doesn't come, then the panic monster is not going to come, because the commander has a ship. And obviously, like, we know that this is an ideal situation. It is easier said
Yeah.
than done, right? So we can just all of us can think of it. Like, obviously, we watch inspirational videos and we realize that, yeah, we can do it. But in the end, what ends up happening is that hype is created, that motivation is created,
Same.
but it
Yeah.
ends up fading away slowly, little by little. Just, yeah, you just have to keep it in your back of your mind that you need to have like, go in terms with your feelings. That's the thing. I mean, I could not have explained it any better, Baroor, by the way. It is like an epiphany when you actually realize it and decide to take charge. And yes, of course, meditation helps you overcome some of your anxiety when a tough situation arises. Obviously, a tough situation will arise, and you will have some anxiety in yourself when you're wondering how to cope up with this work and how to cope up with your own feelings. Like, sometimes we think about our feelings and we wonder, like, what will happen. What we There is a chain of thought which leads us to anxiety. So obviously, I would suggest everyone
Yeah.
take time, sit in a like a dark and a very quiet room, just take a breather, meditate for some time, and calm your thoughts. Just be in touch with your own mind, and that's one of the ways that you can be in, like, you can know yourself. We what we think is we know ourselves, but we don't. We really don't. The thing is that the thing about our own mind is that it is very complicated things, and we ourselves don't understand it sometimes. So, like, obviously, I'm not saying that just meditating will let you in terms with your mind, but it will get you closer, and it might just help you in your ways, and it might just help you in that particular situation. So, like, I'm not an expert, or like, obviously, there's one thing for sure, that mental health is nothing to be joked about, and procrastination is something we all go through. And this, and like, but in the end, we know, we just, as you said, that only you can help yourself. So just remember that whenever you are in a pinch, just take a breather, get in terms with your thoughts. And with this, we have come to an end of the podcast. We will be back next time with more such topics of discussions and interviews. These are your hosts, Baroor, Avneshwari, and Subarnajit Saha, signing off.